This is lesson 1, part 2. We're on page 4 of The Giver. Now, thinking about the feeling of fear as he pedaled home along the river path, he remembered that moment of palpable, stomach-sinking terror when the aircraft had streaked above. It was not what he was feeling now, with December approaching. He searched for the right word to describe his own feeling. Jonas was careful about language, not like his friend Asher, who talked too fast and mixed things up, scrambling words and phrases until they were barely recognizable and often very funny. Jonas grinned, remembering that the morning that Asher had dashed into the classroom, late as usual, arriving breathlessly in the middle of the chanting of the morning anthem. When the class took their seats at the conclusion of the patriotic hymn, Asher remained standing to make his public apology as was required. Now, as I'm reading this, what have we entered into? Do you remember what it's called? A what? Yes, a flashback. This is a flashback. Okay. I apologize for inconvenience in my learning community, Asher ran through the standard apology phrase rapidly, still catching his breath. The instructor and class waited patiently for his explanation. The students had all been grinning because they had listened to Asher's explanations so many times before. I left home at the correct time, but when I was riding along near the hatchery, the crew was separating some salmon. I guess I just got distraught watching them. I apologize to my classmates, Asher concluded. He smoothed his rumpled tunic and sat down. Now, if he smoothed his rumpled tunic, you may not know what a tunic is. It's a shirt or a coat, jacket. We accept your apology, Asher, the class recited. The standard response in unison. Many of the students were biting their lips to keep from laughing. I accept your apology, Asher, the instructor said. He was smiling. And I thank you because once again, you have provided an opportunity for a lesson in language. Distraught is too strong an adjective to describe salmon viewing. He turned and wrote distraught on the instructional board. Beside it, he wrote distracted. Jonas, nearing his home now, smiled at the recollection. So, this part, we've entered a new paragraph, and he came out of that flashback, and it says, Jonas entering his home now. So when you see that word now, it's an indication that story is over. That memory, again, a flashback is a memory that's taken us back into a period of time. So there's a lot of this. That's kind of why I want to draw your attention to it, because so far we're only on page 5, but we've kind of been in and out of several small flashbacks where he's taken us back into memories that he's remembered. Okay, and it's just important that you're aware of that in this story. But Jonas was nearing his home now, smiling at the recollection, fancy word for at the memory, recollection, where you recollect collect something and to recollect again, okay? Thinking still as he wheeled his bike into its narrow port beside the door, he realized that frightened was the wrong word to describe his feelings now. Now that December was almost here, it was too strong an adjective. He had waited a long time for this special December. Excuse me. Now that it was almost upon him, he wasn't frightened. So I think it's important to look at the line, he had waited a long time for this special December. So whatever is about to happen in December, he's known about it for a long time. He's been waiting. If you've been waiting for something, there may not be the word. He may not have the word, but that's an anticipation. If you've been waiting for something, you're anticipating. You're waiting for it to happen. You know, have you ever heard someone say, I can't wait? Well, he may not exactly feel that way, but it's coming. And he's been waiting for this special, he's been waiting. He had waited for a long time for this special. Evidently, this is going to be a special December for him. Okay. Now that it was almost upon him, he wasn't frightened, but he was eager. He decided. And if I'm gonna just say this is card 7 of 11. And I know that y'all can't do two things at one time probably. But I'll just say this. If you have access to the internet, you can get the Google Classroom as an app on your phone, just the Classroom. And then, so you can be, you may want to watch through a phone and then look at, through the Chromebook, you may want to look. That might be something that you can do. If you have, with your phone, you may be able to watch the video. And with the app, you may be able to pull up, with the Google Chrome, you may be able to pull up the Learn Zillion lesson. That might be something that if I can't get the Zoom to work. But on card 7, it says, look at this, which is what I'm about to read. So instead of looking at it twice, I'm going to pay attention to it now to save time on the video because it takes quite a long time to upload. He had waited a long time for the special December. Now that it was almost upon him, he wasn't frightened, but he was eager. He decided. He was eager for it to come, and he was excited, certainly. All of the 11s were excited about the event that would be coming so soon. What does that tell us about his age? He's 11. But there was a little shudder of nervousness when he thought about it, about what might happen. Apprehensive, Jonas decided that's what I am. So discuss with a partner. If you're in my room, you'll do that, and if not, you won't. But what emotion does Jonas consider in this excerpt? We know that he talks about being frightened at the beginning, and he gives an example of a time that he was frightened, and that was, in the flashback story when the jet flies over. And he goes into great detail, and there's a question that answers that, question 1 or whatever. So we'll have time to talk about that. So he knows that that's not really the description. That's not the adjective that accurately describes what he's feeling. That's okay. So he moves on, and then he thinks eager, because he has been anticipating. He has been thinking about this or waiting for this December, this special December. So the word eager, he's been eager. He was excited, eager, excited. Those are positive feelings, I think. If I were going to ask you about a connotation, which is a feeling you have, a positive or a negative emotion that you would attach to the word eager, would you attach a positive or negative? Most would say positive with eager. If we say frightened, we would feel a negative connotation. With some type of a fear would be a negative. So that's kind of what we're focusing on too. Our language, words do matter. So then he admits that there's a shudder of nervousness. So then he says apprehensive. That's what I am. So what does apprehensive mean? What do you think? Well, apprehensive is a mixture of those words. Eager, excited, and nervous all at once. It's kind of like, that's apprehensive. So really, he did a good job of being pretty clear about that. And that's all you have to do. You don't have to overanalyze this. But you just simply, if you're eager, you're looking forward to something, you're excited about it, but if you're nervous at the same time, then you're feeling apprehensive. Maybe a little bit of anxiety. But not to the point that you're overwhelmed with fear, debilitating fear, dread. He didn't use the word dread. That would be a stronger word. Do you realize that? Okay. So let's go to the questions. Number 1, how do Jonas and others in the community react when they see the unidentified aircraft? What do they do? What do the others do? Well, yeah. They look around. Jonas looks around anxiously, and he sees adults and children stop and look around and wait. And they're feeling confused. They don't know what's going on. Okay, and this is all on page 2. When they see that unidentified aircraft. So there's definitely that word, frightened. How do they react? You can definitely say they were all frightened. It said at first he was fascinated. You know, at first he was fascinated, and then he was frightened because it had not happened before. This was new to them. And for us, that seems weird, probably, because it's hard sometimes to relate to things that... Have you ever heard someone say, I just can't relate to that? There's going to be a lot of things in this book we can't relate to. But we're going to try. But in this case, yeah, they didn't know how to respond. So, number 2, how do Jonas and others in the community react to the instructions from the speakers? As soon as the person on the speaker tells them what to do, what's the reaction? So you'll just go to page 2 and jot down what they did, what they said, and how they reacted to that. That's pretty easy, okay? It's not a gotcha question, not at all. It's simply, the point of that question is for you to understand a command was given, and without any hesitation, it was obeyed. And you can give the details. But something as small and as little as that, that's the point, you know? And number 3, what do these incidents reveal? That's the thought-provoking question. What do these incidents reveal about Jonas and his community? And that's where I'm going to start tomorrow. Okay, so I'm gonna leave it at that.